Greetings, everyone. This is your host, Dorothy W. Parker. This is Mind Shift. Joining us today, take a moment to sit back and let your mind shift, understanding that you are lion.
Walking through this jungle, feeling very mild and small. And everybody else looks so tall. Wondering if I can survive. Will I be strong enough if I had to fight? It's a battlefield, but it's my life. What is good? What is bad? What is happy? What is sad? It gets confusing like a maze, searching through your own way. But there's a voice inside that talks to me. Sometimes it turns me to a mirror, looks at me and says, look at your reflection, deeper than you've ever. Do you see the lion? You're stronger than you're thinking. Make your own decision. Get out of others' visions. They don't see the lion. Yes, you are a lion. Walking through the city, everybody's laughing, but I stop because I see a grown man crying. His health has been threatened from an act he thought was innocent, and the world keeps on telling him that his life is slowly ending. Whatever happened to faith, trust, prayer? Whatever happened to hope? Don't let the poison take over your soul.
Poison.
Take the strength that you have left. Fight your way to your best.
To your
Don't
best.
let them strip you from your purpose. You're more than worth it. Take the mirror.
Take that mirror. Look at your reflection.
Deeper than you've ever.
Oh, wow. I feel good today.
You're stronger than
Had a wonderful time last night.
Make your own decision. Get out of others' visions. They don't see the lion.
Wow, wow, wow. Whew. I had to start that off this morning. Had to start off with something very powerful because last night on Coach Malachi Gross channel, I was a guest and it was powerful. I am still overwhelmed and still empowered by the connection and consciousness and in the mind shift of last night. And so today I wanted to share something I thought was very important that can be a backdrop from the session that we did last night. And I wanted to just share a few minutes on some of the information that I was sharing last night. You know, a lot of times when you're in certain types of settings, you don't get to really go into the type of detail that you would go into when you're in a more relaxed, kind of familiar setting. And I'm used to talking to myself. And I want to welcome all of the followers of higher consciousness, of expanded consciousness, and to all of the family and friends that joined us last night on the podcast. I'm very excited about how the podcast was received and how I was received. And I am so grateful and so honored in this place today. I sit in the seat of honor today, giving honor to everyone who shared their energy with us last night. So today, let's get into this subject. And I'm pretty much going to be reading some slides that I am wanting to share with you. As you learned, many of you last night, and some of you may not know, I write, and I don't write necessarily to get rich, or to be known. I write to express ideas that I feel can be shifting in people's lives and in their consciousness, shifting them from a place of complacency and often from a place of being stuck. My expertise is in religion, not because I am academically or scholastically astute on the subject, but because I am a living product of more than 60 years of being socialized in the religious system. And based on that relationship, I feel like I have a lot that I can share. My family is still very connected um, to many religious organizations. My family is, I have pastors, I have bishops, I have church leaders, singers of all type, musicians who travel internationally, who play for many of the churches that some of the audience may be familiar with. So my family is intricately involved in the system. And that is not, using the word system is not to be offensive, because I think that if religion is building some character in you and it's not damaging who you are, then use it until you feel the desire or you feel a push to move on. So let's go into this topic. We're going to talk about rejecting religious constructionism. Now, I am coming from a academic perspective. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in psychology. Sociology was a passion of mine that was ignited in me by one of my best friends, Aisha Laws. And I told her, I said, I want to go to school. I've always had a desire to get my degree, but at the age that I received my degree, by that time, all of my childhood dreams had already um, vanished from me. And so I was kind of trying to find a niche that would fit my personality, my character, and my views. And she said, "What? You should go to school for sociology." I said, "What is sociology?" And she shared with me what it was. And immediately I connected to the subject. And I went to school. I graduated with honors from the American Military University. I am a veteran of the United States Army. I am honorably discharged, and I am 100% disabled from that experience. So that's just a little background of how I got into this perspective of religion, because prior to that, I didn't have this perspective. I didn't have the tools that I now have to be able to make this kind of connection to what I was sensing in my own consciousness about my experience in the system. And so today we're going to share just a little bit about this book that I'm about to produce. I have so many that I'm about to produce. If you were to see all of the books, let me share, for those of you who may be watching the video of this podcast. I want to share my screen, um, and to share with you um, some of the material that I have been able to produce as a result of being a prolific writer. And this happens because I write everything down. And I like to have things tangible in my hands. So I write a lot. So let me give you a little taste of some of the things that I am producing. I'm going to share this screen. Um, let's see if we can get this working. I may have to let me put up another screen here. Let's do this one. Here we go. So I want you to see this. And these writings that I have are very diverse. It is not strictly religious because um, I have gotten so much out of the system. But what I'm writing now is a result of being on the outside looking in. I was in the position of being inside and not able to look out because of the restrictions. But now I'm on the outside looking in. I have a perspective that I think that can be beneficial to my audience. And so I am writing several books. The books that you're looking at right now are inside of my Apple books, and they have not yet been published. Some of them have, but some of them have not been published because they are still works in my mind. And I have designed covers. This is how I think. I have to visualize what I'm putting together. And so I go through the process of packaging the idea. And when I package the idea, then once that has happened, I'm able to complete the inside. So a lot of these books that you see are completely written, but they're in draft form. And so this is a result of my relationship with religion. I have several books here. One that I am very excited to share with y'all, and that is this one. And it is The Fantasy Island of Religion. And um, this book is a whew, it is a in-depth look into the psyche of religion and how religion produces fantasies in the mind of many of its adherers. These fantasies are not just what we would consider fantasies as a movie genre or as a reading genre. These are fantasies that are literally adopted by religious constructionism to convince you that you need this in your life as a backdrop to teach you what is sacred and what is profane according to society. And so, because of that, I wanted to share the fantasy island of religion because I need people to see this is all about when society loses its religion, because religion has gotten so big that it's even difficult for society to now manage this construct, this institution that has gotten out of hand. It is no different than the way that we look at our political system, our medical system, when we look at our school system, our judicial system. All of these systems have been scrutinized, but religion has been a sacred emblem of society, and it is taboo to touch it. But we have realized that if we're going to expand in our consciousness, if we're going to have an experience, and if we're going to have mind shift experiences, which are natural to the human experience, then we have got to understand where we are and be able to make sound choices about how we deal with religion. Not just how we deal with it, but how do we do it? And what are the options if we want to remain in the construct? So, this is just one of the books that I wanted to share with you. Another book that I wanted to share with you, and then we're going to get into the topic because the topic is it is not very long, but it is just a taste of what I wanted to share. So I also wanted to share, this is a next major project that I am putting out, and it's called Conquering the Seven Traits of Unhealthy Boundaries. All of these come out of my experience. These are my testimonies of how my psyche has been affected by the socialization of religion. And I found myself conquering these seven traits of unhealthy boundaries. And in conquering them, I realized that I was very unhealthy in my boundaries. I had boundaries, but they were unhealthy boundaries. And most people don't talk about boundaries from this perspective. We're always talking about setting them, we're always talking about having them, creating them, designing them, acquiring them. But we don't talk about how unhealthy some of our boundaries are and the need that we have to reframe them. That's where this book comes out of: overcoming destructive habits and unstable relationships. So, that is one of the books. This book here, which we shared last night on Malachi's channel on his in the YouTube live that I was a guest on, this book, Dialogue Across Generations, is about navigating changes in religion and gender perspectives. Do you see how the connection and how important it is to have a good foundation of religion constructionism, because it affects every area of your life, even how you dialogue with other people. And most people don't see this because they're like a fish in water trying to describe the water. But having a understanding of how we dialogue religiously, and even with the contrast of gender, because gender is a major um, encounter that most people experience in their religious experience. So this book is about how we should dialogue on these topics, the cautions that we should take. Let's share our just the content section. In the content section, um, and so I don't know, you can't see this because it looks like I have to share every screen that I put up. But in the content section, we have the social constructs viewed as divisive, the social construct of gender and religion. Why do societies need social construct? Challenges to gender and religious constructs, deconstruction of social constructs. I'm using the word construct and deconstruct interchangeably, but they are different, and they are having a great effect on the psyche of humanity. And so they're necessary to be repetitious in what we're talking about until there's an understanding and a catch, a mind shift in those that are learning about this. And there is the necessity of constructive dialogue among generations. I think that is the real depth of this book, is how do we dialogue with different generations who have different ideologies from us? Our generation, I was born in the 60s, and so my generation is pretty much embedded in the religious system, and our ideas about gender, about race, about sex, marriage is pretty much found in the religious constructive arena. But we are raising children who are not having contrary or contrasting views on these subjects, but we don't know how to dialogue with them because we beat them over the head with religion. We have a perspective as elders that they don't want to listen to either. They don't want to listen to our warnings and our experiences because they are so tainted and one sided. But we've got to learn how to dialogue. We've got to learn how to sit down and have conversations. We have got to be more accepting, more open. Acceptance does not mean agreement. What I mean, or agreement does not mean acceptance, or listening does not mean acceptance. We're not asking you to change how you think or change what your religious beliefs are or to change what your morals are or what you have designed as sacred and profane. What we're asking you to do is make space for those that you have brought into the world who are having a different conscious experience in those arenas. And so that's what we're asking in dialogue across generations. And so there's so much here, but I wanted to give you a look into my mind. I've written a beginner's guide to religion during the pandemic, healing before dreaming. A lot of us have a lot of dreams and visions and goals, but we're not healed. And when we actually go to fulfill those dreams, we find ourselves having to go through a lot of healing in the midst of following our dreams. And a lot of times they get misplaced. So when they get misplaced, what we find is that people are have traumas and wounds that affect their dreams. They share their dreams through a wounded influence. A lot of times they have sabotaging behavior while their dreams are being manifested. And this is not saying that these people don't get rich or they don't succeed in accomplishing their dreams, but in that success, they are broken. Um, a friend of mine was telling me about a story of a young lady who had acquired so much in her life at a young age. And at the end of that acquisition, she was feeling depressed. Why? Because you cannot approach your dream with a broken psyche, a broken character, a broken personality. And so that's what this book is about. So that's enough of that. We're going to get into why we came here, because I know you did not come here to get a synopsis of where my mind is, but that gives you an insight into who I am, especially to all of my new listeners, all of those who are new to this podcast and who are following me based on our relationship and our experience last night. So let's get into religious constructionism. And as I stated, most of this I am going to read because I think it's very important to get the details of what I'm saying in this podcast. I'm a product of religious socialization, not societal, but religious. Even though religion is a social construct of society, an institution of society, I am personally a product of religious socialization, which means that I have been designed by religion to relate to society from a religious psyche. That is a different approach than a person who is socialized through secular institutions without the religious lens. My entire lens on life has been molded by the institution of religion, which has exerted a more profound impact on my psyche than any other socializing agent. I contend that the use of religion as a socializing agent is both brutal and mentally destructive, not to mention irresponsible. Do not raise your children this way. You are going to have wounded souls if you use religion to raise and to design the persona and the psyche of your children. My story is the story of many Americans. I have this American story both born out of religious fervor and religious manipulation. I grew up in a world where religion wasn't just part of my life, it was my life. My upbringing in the 60s in Durham, North Carolina was filtered through the lens of intense religious socialization. Now, let me say this for those that are still in the system of religion, your perspective will be different from mine. And I acknowledge that. I am outside now looking in, which gives me a balance because I've been in it and I'm now out of it. And I can see its effect in my own life. So if this does not resonate with anybody but me, then just sit with me as I go through my mind shift change and my consciousness elevation from this place. So my father was a preacher, my mother was an evangelist. Both of them traveled across the world. The impact of religion or across the United States. My father is still alive. He is a veteran, World War II veteran, and he is in his late 90s. And he has been a preacher all of his life. He knows nothing but this. But in the war, he experienced a lot of the world. So my father, he was as much as he was an instrument of the brutality of religion, he was also an inspiration to me. He is an educated man, and he is a well versed man. So there is some appreciation, but also some healing that had to take place in that relationship. So, with a preacher father and an evangelist mother, the impact on of religion on my psyche has been profound and complex. I lived in a religious bubble 80% of my life, as if the rest of the world was too contagious. Do you hear me? Too contagious for me to survive. The last 20% of my life is born out of reform, healing, and sacred balance. My siblings and I were disciplined. And I don't get a lot of times when I'm sharing my testimony, it is not my position to share details. I don't think details are necessary. I don't need to go into the gross details of a lot of things that I have experienced in my life. A lot of people, when they're writing and telling their story, they feel that need. But I believe I can make a point by sharing some of the shallow details. And if you will be able to, and hoping that you will be able to see inside the lens that I'm presenting to you. And so this is just a little detail. So my siblings and I were disciplined with methods that were not just strict, but sometimes terrifying. I remember once my daddy threatened to push my face into a bucket of lye soap. We lived on a farm too, and my daddy made soap. We killed chickens. We did a lot. And so I remember him doing that, and it has affected me in such a way that my psyche around discipline is being healed. I'll say it like that. Now, I want you to keep in mind that this is not just my father, but this is my representation of God. This is what I have been. This is who I have been hearing the voice of God through. And so daddy threatened to push my face into a bucket of lye to punish me because we were fighting. It's nine of us siblings. You fight, you get into contentions. And so other times our disputes were we had to stand with our hands on each other's shoulders, looking each other in the eye until my daddy decided that we were repentant enough to let each other go. His disciplinary methods went from the extreme to the more mentally palatable forms of discipline. What do I mean by that? They were so extreme that they were not palatable. They were not easily accepted or easy to experience. And then some were pretty natural. I mean, I don't know how you grew up, but we grew up, we got beat by with belts or whatever was around if we did the wrong thing. And all of this was through the lens of a religious household. And so my framework is from this perspective. These experiences were psychologically devastating. They were compounded by the molestations and physical abuses by those who were supposed to be God's representatives. The institution meant to save my soul seemed instead to be there to encapsulate me at every turn of my life. There was no air to breathe. That wasn't filtered by religion. For the longest time, my concept of society was inseparable from religion. My concept of life was not inseparable from religion. My concept of relationships, of people, of ideas were not inseparable from religion. It wasn't until my 50s that I began to see the world through a more secular lens. Secular is a taboo in religion. It is meant to be very it's more of a negative connotation when you are in religion and the word secular is used. But for me, secular means that I got out of religion and into the general population of humanity. So hopefully you can take that definition and apply it in this perspective. So this late awakening made me think about all the years of my life under the governance of religious oversight. It was the inheritance of my community passed down unwillingly, but inevitably. My experiences are not just personal tragedies, they reflect a broader disturbing pattern, which means that what I experienced, I did not experience in isolation. Even in 2024, we have very prominent religious leaders who are being uncovered, who are committing suicide. I knew a pastor, a bishop who traveled around the world, established ministries, established churches, who was a very funny guy, very, very loving. I thought he was extremely loving. He was able to give me advice and to love on me when I was in religion and I was under the pressure of the system, and it was wearing on me. And he was able to speak into my life and to give me some consolation. Well, at a point in his life where he just felt despondent, he took a shotgun and shot himself in the head. Don't tell me that religion as a construct, as an institution, is not brutal to the psyche. It is very brutal. This is not an isolated situation. I'm sure many of you that are listening to me know of people who have had traumatic experiences in their religious life. I'm talking marriages, women in relationships where their husbands have been blatantly unfaithful and brutal, but still are in their life, speaking into their life as if they are the voice of God. But these men are unfaithful. They're having children out of wedlock. They're getting in the pulpits. They're having relationships that they preach against every Sunday morning. The hiding, the darkness. I don't know if any of you have heard of Helen. I think her name is Helen or Ellen Ellersby. She wrote a book called The Dark Side of Christianity. And in this book, she expresses from the foundation of how devastating religion was born, how it became an institution, how it became a construct, how it moved from personal experience to an institution of experience, and how it moved from a personal experience to a dictatorial experience. And so I am familiar with how good religion can make you feel. I am familiar with the good side, but I am more familiar with the dark side. I see it every day. I hear it in people's conversation. I hear it when I'm counseling people, when I am in conversations with people who are overwhelmed by the system, not to mention the psyche of children being overly disciplined because they will not respond to religion the way their parents or maybe the way the church wants them to. These children are damaged. These children are a product of a mindset that does not fit who they are. And so this is a broad experience. And one of the things we're taught in sociology is that in order to have an understanding, a sociological lens, we have to take the micro experiences that we have and look at them from a macro perspective. If I am getting divorced, why am I a part of a system that allows divorce? And if I look at it from a macro perspective, then I can see how all the tentacles have fit into how I got in the number. So I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So let's move on. So these experiences are personal tragedies, and they reflect a broader disturbing pattern. They are echoed in the story of countless others, including religious leaders who are overwhelmed by their burdens. They choose tragic ends. They don't choose the end that they're preaching from the pulpit. They choose escapism because once you have been closeted by religion, there is no escape unless you can hear a voice that is familiar crying out to you from the outside, telling you that it is safe to come out the closet. We're telling people to come out the closet in their gender. We're telling people to come out the closet in their relationships. We're telling people to come out the closet in so many things. But how many people are in the closet of religion and cannot come out because they feel it's unsafe out here? I've witnessed this suffering, not only at home, but also abroad, internationally, where my travels as a religious leader opened up my eyes to the global scale of religious abuse, manipulation, and control. Now, let me say this. I am not saying to you that a person that is broken or have issues cannot be in places of leadership. That would be that would not be a very smart or wise thing to think. But always remember that, as I shared last night in the live, that power is in the position, not in the person. So if a broken, damaged person gets in a position of power, you're going to feel that power, but you are also going to experience the brokenness. So the power is in the position, it is not in the person. And so I need you to have that understanding. Religion, as I've known it, has been a source of immense pain and destruction. This is not just my story and America's story, it's a global saga. As an undergraduate in sociology and a graduate of psychology, my academic work has shown me that my experiences are not anomalies. They are symptoms of a worldwide issue. These issues aren't exclusive to Christianity. It's a phenomena of every constructed, organized, and institutional religion on the planet. And I want to take a sidebar here. I'm going to share with you the moment that I had a mind shift. I was sitting in church, and for about a month, I had been having visions and dreams, vivid visions and dreams. I had a very vivid dream of 9/11. It was so detailed that I had to share it. And when I shared it, I think it wasn't very long after that that 9/11 happened. So I want to give you try to give you a little backdrop of where I was spiritually and mentally at that time. I was having all types of trances and dreams and visions, and I was sitting in church on a Sunday morning. I was struggling in this church. I was having a hard time. I was feeling oppressed. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling the need to escape. I just wanted to get out. I just felt so uncomfortable. And I started crying. I mean, I was crying so much, I believe, for about 2 months. Anything made me cry. And I was sitting in church one day and I had a wail, a strong push from the inside. It felt like a tsunami had went off inside of my consciousness. And I felt a tsunami of tears rolling down my face as if I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulder. And I asked God in my spirit, what is happening to me? What is going on? Why am I experiencing this? And I heard, you are waking up from religious sedation. I said, what? I never heard such a thing. How is it even possible that somebody can experience um, being sedated by religion? How is religion a sedative? How is it possible that I could be under the influence of a sedative and not know it? Everybody knows what a sedative does. It allows you to be numb to pain. It allows you to be numb to what is being done to you. And so that you don't have the type of response that will cause that whatever is being done to you to not be able to fulfill its purpose. And so being sedated by religion meant that I was in a place where I was numb to what was happening to me. And I looked around and all I could see was people look like they were high. I mean, when I'm talking high, I'm talking about strung out. And this was a vision. And I heard, you're waking up from religious sedation. And from that time on, I felt like I needed to run away from this system because I knew that something was starting to happen in the system. It was happening to me, but this was a wake up call to come out of it because what was getting ready to happen within the system, I did not want to be a part of it, or consciously, I was being connected to come out of this place. And so I did. And during the time that before I came out, it took a long time for me to make the choice because the sedation, although it was wearing off, it still had an effect. I felt fear. After you come out of sedation, especially if you've gone through major surgery, and I have gone through many, I would say, major surgeries where I had to be put to sleep. And when I came out of the sedative, I could feel all of the pain that I did not feel when I was under the anesthesia. And this is what was happening to me in religion. I could feel everything. I could hear everything. I could see. I could hear and look at people talking and see something that was totally different. And so the sedation, while it was wearing off, I was also having side effects from it because I was experiencing fear. I was experiencing instability. I was experiencing uncertainty. I was experiencing doubt. This is all I have known. I was experiencing a reconstruction of how I saw God, a reconstruction of what I thought was sacred, profane, of morality. And this was an extreme experience. This is not the experience of everybody who comes out of the system. Many people come out of the system because they're wounded, because they're broken, because they've been abused, because they've been damaged. I came out because I was awakened, awakened, and I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm not upset about it. I'm awakened. And because I'm awakened, I can see some things that I could not see while I was in it. While I was under the sedation, there were things that I could not feel. There were things that I could not experience. I could not have shifts in my mind. I could not have conscious awakenings. I could not have connections with other humans, other beings, other energies. I could not have those connections because they all felt unsafe. They all felt ungodly. Did you hear what I said? Ungodly. And so the construct is what I'm talking about here. This is not just my story, it's America's story. Like I said, it's a global saga and it's an anomaly. They aren't symptoms of a worldwide issue, they are symptoms of a worldwide issue of religious construction. These issues are not exclusive to Christianity, as I stated. They are a part of many systems. Let me give you a few statistics for those of you who are statistical. The decision to finally step away from this system came in 2007. It was a pivotal year marked by personal losses and the suicide of a prominent religious leader that I admired. Since then, I have seen a significant shift globally. People are moving away from the institution of religion. The data supports this. When Gallup first started polling in 1937, 73% of Americans were church members. They were church goers. They were church supporters. That number had dropped to 45% by the time I left the church in 2007. So we're not talking about, this is personal. You got a personal vendetta against the church. No, I don't. I have a personal vendetta against religious constructionism and the damage that it is doing to our consciousness, to our psyche, to our mental. It is destroying who we are. We cannot build our humanity because we are being told by religion, we are sent to fantasy islands of heaven and hell, and we are excluding our present reality for fantasy. This book that I am writing about the reconstruction and the rejection of religious constructionism is from this dark history of my personal and humanity's experience with organized religion. It's written in the early hours of morning solitude, surrounded by books and the glow of my computer screen, reflecting on everything I've learned and lived. Here I lay out not just criticisms, but a call for a reformation towards an organic form of spirituality, one that heals rather than harms. Did you hear what I said? There's a difference between a mechanical religious system and an organic religious system, a organic spirituality, as opposed to a mechanical spirituality. In sociology, we learn about organic societies and mechanical societies. We learn about organic religion and mechanical religions. Most of us are completely unfamiliar with organic religion because we have never been given the opportunity to understand that we were born with this organic experience and connection in consciousness. What you call God, you were born with that connection. There is no need for you to be religiously socialized. There is no need for you to be taught religion or to be taught God or to be taught sacred and profane. Let me tell you the reality of it. You can go to any country, any society, any nation, and you're going to find that what is profane and what is sacred is different than what it is in America. What is considered religiously acceptable in America is not acceptable in most countries. What is acceptable in most countries is not acceptable in America. This is showing you that these are constructs, and these constructs are meant to support and uphold society's control over humanity. The word control can have negative and positive connotations. There are times when we need to be in control of who we are, and there are times when we need to release control of who we are. Society has complete, unadulterated control. Religion is one of the controlling agencies of society. What happens is religion teaches you through socialization what is profane and sacred and what you should adopt as profane and sacred in society. And when you don't adopt it or when you don't receive that, there are sanctions in society, different types of sanctions. If you break the law, then you go to jail. That's one sanction. That is a higher form of sanction. But also you have sanctions from relationships. If you do not go with the status quo, you get rejected or you get labeled. Labels are also a part of the controlling mechanism of society. We label people so that we can identify how we're supposed to deal with them. We have been offensive in our religious experiences. We have offended people. Religion and spirituality should be organic. It should come and flow out of your spirit, out of your essence of who you are. That cannot happen when you have been programmed from birth on how to have this experience that you should be having as a divine being, as a divine energy in this space, in this cosmic reality, in this revelatory energy, in this universal consciousness, in this human relationship. All of these things are significant. It doesn't matter the language you use. What matters is, are you organically experiencing life as a vessel? We will get into a lot of this on our next podcast. I was supposed to have been talking about shadows today, but I felt a pressing need to share more based on the positive responses that we received from being on a guest of Coach Malachi Gross and the Expanded Consciousness community. And I want to thank everybody who has taken the time to listen, to join this podcast, to join me on YouTube, on all of the social media channels, to go to my website. On my website, DorothyWParker.com, you will find that I have some books there. I have some manuals of things that you can purchase. And if you are struggling to purchase, you let me know and I will send it to you, because I am convinced that we should be on a different journey at this point in our life. Wealth should not be about how much money you accumulate. It is important to have money. Would I like to be a quadrillionaire? You better believe it. Would I like to be a millionaire? You better believe it. Would I like to be a billionaire? You better believe it. But there is a higher purpose in sharing what I'm sharing, and that is to help awaken humanity to a space that we have allowed to be narrow in our psyche, in our consciousness, in our spirituality. Religion is simply a adherence to a dogma, right? Or to have a worshipful mentality of an idea, right? So you can turn an experience into religion the way they did Azusa Street with William Seymour, the black slave who had an experience, a powerful experience that was organic. And the religious institution at the time came in and said, we're going to institutionalize this experience, this organic experience. And many of us are submitting ourselves to that. And so I just wanted to share that today. I'm not even sure how long this podcast has been going, but I'm sure I have worn on your patience. It is less than an hour. That is my goal. And so I will see you next time. And I want you to listen to this song. I try to play this song before and after. I talked to my son. He is the artist that is singing this song. And I tried to get him to help me find a song that I thought or that we thought would be very supportive of our Mind Shifting Mastery podcast. And I think he told me to use this song. And I said, no, I don't want to use this song because I think it's kind of low energy, but it is so powerful. So I want you to listen to this song and I want you to apply it to yourself. I want you to think about yourself. Remember, the words of this song is, do you see the lion? Yes, you are a lion. And so I want you to see that and to understand that. So I will see you next time and we will take up shadows. So listen to this. Do you see it? Make your own decision. Get out of our decisions. They don't see the lion. You're stronger than you're thinking. Listen. Make your own decision. Get out of our decisions. They don't see the lion. Yes, you are a lion. Yes, you are. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.